When you find a situation where you need some inspiration, there's an open invitation. This could be a revelation. It's true. Well, do.
Okay, guys, we're going to try and make this as short and sweet as possible. We're going to be talking about the anatomy of Google Forms. So you have a nice PDF down below in this page, and you can print that out if you need to, and that's what I'm going to be going over in this video. So to start with, we're going to just go to Google Drive. So to do that, I'm just going to type drive.google.com. That's going to get me where I want to be. And we're going to start with a folder. This is actually something I asked you to do in our first assignment. So if you just pause the video as I finish this and do it with me, you're already finished with part of an assignment. So click on New, and we're going to go here to Folder. We're going to title it Google Forms 101 and Create. It's going to highlight that form for us. I'm going to double click that and jump into it. Now that we're in the space that we want to be, we're going to go back up to New. The holy trinity of Google's suite of products is Doc Sheets and Slides. So to get to Forms, we actually have to click on More. We're going to dive over here to where it says Google Forms. And we're going to get a blank canvas. So to start with, the very first assignment that I have for you is to create a simple exit ticket. So I'm going to go ahead and title this Simple Exit Ticket. Once I title that or type that in, if I go back up here to where it says Untitled Form and just click, it's going to grab the title of the form itself for me. I can change that at any time, but it's nice and simple. Okay, so form description, I could probably just say, please fill this out for today's activities. Oops. Okay. Now, we're going to try to make this as simple and fast as possible. You have the option, like in all Google products, to move the folder or the space in which it is organized straight from the form. It's already where we want it to be, so we don't need that. If this is an exit ticket that you could see yourself using on a daily basis, you might want to star it so that it actually is organized into the starred folder, but it's not needed. Off to the side, you have options for add-ons. One of my favorite add-ons is form notifications. That's especially if I'm putting something together for students or staff to fill out and I want to know when it's submitted. But there's lots of options here, so you can go in and explore at your leisure. Next to that, we have the color palette. When we click on it, it shows us a lot of different colors that we can change at any time. The default is this purple. You also can add your own images if you click here in the corner. They have a whole bunch of themes too that you can explore on your own time. I think my example has this book, so I'll go ahead and grab it. But over here in the corner, you can also upload your own photos or grab things from your albums in Google Drive. So I'll stick with this book background and I'll hit select. And so you'll notice it's loading my theme as we go. All right, the eyeball right next to the color palette is the preview button. So when you click that, that's going to open up a new tab and show you what the students or staff is going to see. This is, for example, an easy, quick way for you to grab the URL and paste that into Canvas or Seesaw or an email. Wherever you're trying to get this form to people, however you're going to get it to them, this is an easy way to do it. But this is going to allow you to see what your sample form looks like before you send it out. And I highly recommend, I'll probably say this a couple more times, to always fill out your form at least once when you think you're finished and to see if you like the end results, if you're getting the answers that you're kind of searching for. Okay, so this is popped open in another tab. To get back to editing my form, I can click the pencil here in the corner where it says edit this form if I hover over it, or I can just go back a tab to where I was before. Okay, so that was the eyeball. Right next to that, we've got the cog that gives us more advanced settings. You can collect email addresses. You can require that people are signed in to the Beaverton School District. You can allow students to edit after they submit. In the presentation mode, you can allow a progress bar if you have multiple sections or pages. If you're creating a quiz and you'd like the questions shuffled around, you can access that at any time. You also can specify your confirmation message. So because this is an exit ticket, I could potentially say, thank you for being in class today. right? And make it, specific to me. When I go over to the quizzes section, you just have to slide this over to make it a quiz, which allows you then options to grade and show the grades to students, etc. So there's a lot of options here. I'm going to go ahead and say save since I made the message different. When I hit the send button, you've got more options to add collaborators. Let's say you're working with a learning team and you'd like another teacher to create with you. So here's where you would go to add those collaborators. You also can send this via email straight from here. I usually don't do that. I honestly usually grab the link, which again, you can grab from here. You can grab from the Omnibar. It does have a nice shorten the URL right here. So that's nice because usually these are very, very long URLs. So you could shorten this and copy it. You also have the ability to embed this into a web page, for example, a Canvas page. So in one of the more advanced lessons here towards the end of the course, I will specifically show you how to do that if that is something you are interested in. Okay, so that is the send button. You have additional options over here if you have something that you'd like to make a copy or you want to go in and find more of those add-ons that I showed you earlier. That's how you're going to access them. Here's another option to add collaborators I just noticed. Okay, so moving into the form itself now, we've got our title, a brief description, and we already have a question ready to go. So once we click on that question, our little toolbar kind of floats down with us and it's just waiting for us to start typing. It does have a little bit of AI, I guess you would say. It's knowing or guessing based on your questions what type of answers you might want. So to start with, you probably want to put name and maybe you say first and last. As we do that, it noticed right away it went from multiple choice to short answer. That is what I'd like to keep it as. And I'm going to go down here and you have the option to duplicate, to trash or delete this question. You've got the required option. I think anytime you're doing this with students and you need a name and or what period or block they're in, you want to go ahead and slide this over to required. Next to the required button, you've got these three dots. That's going to allow you to do a few more things depending on what type of question you're actually doing. So with this, with description, I could add additional. So if I wanted the question to just say name, I could click on description, for example, and type first and last down below, perhaps. And then I could take this off of the question. Keep in mind that anything that you put in this bigger area here is what the column will be on your spreadsheet. So you want to keep that section fairly short, to be perfectly honest. Okay, once we're finished with this question, we're going to go over to our floating toolbar. I want to point out a few things here. You can add a question by simply clicking this plus sign. This will allow you to add a title or a description and break up the text. This will allow you to add an image, which is pretty helpful. Let's say you have like a science diagram or something you want to pop in and then ask a question about it. From here, you can also add a video, which we'll show you about in a later lesson when we talk about making interactive Google Forms. And then you also have the ability to add different sections. We also will be talking about this in a later video when we talk about branching forms and more advanced forms. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add another question so I can show you the different types of questions you have working for you. So we're going to go ahead and type period, or maybe you call them blocks. I don't quite know. And here are your options. So you have short answer and paragraph. If you're asking students to do more than a name or a word, you probably want to switch over to paragraph so they can actually see their answer. When it comes to multiple choice checkboxes and drop downs, I ask myself several questions when I'm selecting which one I would like to do. So with multiple choice, they can only pick one option and all of their options are listed before them. If you choose checkboxes, that's where you are allowing students to pick more than one answer. And then in a drop down, you also can only pick one option like a multiple choice, but you have to scroll through to see all of the answers. They're not just listed right there in front of you. That's usually a personal preference. I, for whatever reason, don't particularly care for drop downs, so I probably usually use multiple choice and checkboxes more often than not. Down below, you see that you have the option for a linear scale. So that would be, for example, if you were asking the students, on a scale of 1 to 5, how did you like watching that video in class yesterday or something. The multiple choice grid and checkbox grid are used for just more advanced questions. I see that a lot on survey results for on listening to a session like this course, for example. And then if you have to ask for specific date or time, you have those options down here as well. But do remember, every response is time-stamped, so you don't necessarily need this unless you're asking a question for something that would be requiring a date or a time other than the time-stamped response. Okay, so I think I've pretty much gone over the anatomy of a Google form, and